Good morning. Thank you for joining us here at the Computer History Museum. We're so excited to be here within so many and surrounded by so many wonderful pieces of computing history, and it's an especially perfect backdrop for today's search event, which focuses on the future of search and the innovation that's happening in search. At Google, when we think about the future of search, we think about four key elements: modes, media, language, and personalization. What do I mean about each of these? Modes really refers to modalities. How do people search? Today, the predominant mode is that people type keywords into desktop computers. But when we look at the future of search, we think there'll be many more modalities. What happens with mobile phones? What happens if you can talk to the search engine? What happens if you could give concepts or pictures that could queue off of, that the search results could queue off of? We're really excited about the fact that in the future there'll be many different ways of searching. And when we look at how search will grow in the future and change, we think these many different modalities are really what will drive search forward and really grow its overall adoption to even greater numbers than we see today. On the flip side, there's media. Media is what is appearing within the search results. And the web, of course, has gotten very, very rich. Books, movies, news, local, maps, all on the web. And so our search results have to mirror that same richness that we feel on the web. So we're constantly looking at how can we make Google more comprehensive and more relevant with regard to media. So it's not just about 10 blue links, it's about the best answers. Media also leads to the next piece, which is language. We really are working at Google to try and branch across languages, break down the language barrier. Because this focus on language and translation is what unlocks the web. Today, we're able to translate from 51 different languages into all known pairs of those 51 languages. And we have 173 local domains. Because we really foresee a world in the future where you can search and find your answer wherever it exists in the world, whatever language it's written in. And the final component that we see in the future of search is personalization. We don't know a lot about what the search engine will look like 30 years from now, 50 years from now. And it's because search changes so quickly that it's hard to actually pinpoint what that future looks like. But one thing we do know is that the results will be more personalized. They'll know what you're an expert in. They'll know who you're friends with and where you're located. And ultimately, our results will become more rich and more relevant to our users because of that personalization. And there is a fifth component to the future of search, which is the rate of progress. There has to be a consistent rate of innovation pushing us towards this future. And we've always been a company that likes to launch early and often and iterate. And we've done lots and lots of search features over the years. And in October, we released a new blog series called This Week in Search. And This Week in Search chronicles each week all of the new user-visible features that appear in search. So our users get to see the latest and greatest, and they also get a sense of this pace that's driving us towards the future of search. And since October 2nd, in the past 67 days, we've actually launched 33 different search innovations. So that's one innovation every 2 days. And if you look at the innovations, they include things like the new homepage, flu shot finder, personalized search on mobile, and they all fit neatly into these four categories of media, of personalization, modes, and languages. And we're really excited about this overall focus that we have on search, this rate of innovation. And today's event really drives us forward even further, increasing that rate of innovation and new features that we're launching. Today's event will focus mostly on modes and media. And so without further ado, I want to introduce our master of modalities, who's driving our mobile innovation, Vice President of Engineering, Vic Ganotra.
Well, thank you very much, Marissa. I'm very excited to have a chance today to speak to you about innovations in mobile search. But before I dive into those, I'd like you to join me and just take a step back for a moment. Think about technological innovation that was so profound that it changed mankind. What comes to your mind? Maybe you think of the Gutenberg printing press. Maybe you think of the steam engine. Maybe you think of electricity. And it's true, those innovations really changed the course of human history. But what's interesting is that at their outset, the full impact of those innovations was not understood. Gutenberg was broke within a few years. The first mass-produced newspapers that came from Gutenberg's printing press happened many, many decades later. Or who could have predicted that the steam engine would lead to the Industrial Revolution, or that the invention of electricity would one day lead to the internet and to microwaves? At Google, we argue that that same dynamic may be happening in the personal computer space. PCs are, depending on how you count, 27 to about 33 years old. In other words, we are just in the third decade of the personal computer revolution. And it may be that only now have our eyes become open to what the possibilities may be. In fact, at Google, we see three major trends converging in combination with mobile phones that enable new scenarios that absolutely excite us. Let me talk to you about those trends, then I'll get in and show you some of those scenarios. Now, the first trend is Moore's Law, or computing. Now, I am in my 40s. All I've ever known in my life is Moore's Law. Ever since I was a kid and I had electronic toys to the computers I used as a teenager, I knew one thing for sure, that next year, whatever device I had would be better, faster, cheaper. It's the ubiquitous, pervasive law we've known as Moore's Law. And it's a powerful trend in computing. That's trend number one, computing. The second trend is far more recent. That is the trend of connectivity. Think back just as recently as a decade and a half ago. Think back to 1995. If someone came to you in 1995 and said, look, there's a time that's coming that billions of devices, every device will be connected to every other device, would you have believed them? The more technical you are, the more cynical you likely would have been. If you think in 1995, the best file servers of the day, things like Novell NetWare, they connected a few thousand simultaneous connections. And the idea that you'd have billions of connections seemed a little bit absurd. Today, of course, we take it for granted. The internet has happened. You don't even bat an eye when someone next to you takes out their cell phone and controls their TiVo at home. It is an amazing change, this change of connectivity that has swept the world. Computing, connectivity, and the third trend is the most recent, and that is the emergence of powerful clouds. When I say cloud, I mean huge amounts of compute resources that programmers have at their disposal. Data centers the sizes of football fields that host massive amounts of computational power and the ability to manipulate huge data models. When you combine these three things, computing, connectivity, and the cloud, and then you think about what's happening with mobile devices, you get something very, very interesting. Let's talk about mobile devices. Let me go grab a mobile device here. This is a Droid device, common smartphone. And you think about something like this, it's got built-in sensors. It's got a camera, it's got a GPS chip, it's got a speaker, it's got maybe an accelerometer. By themselves, these sensors are not that extraordinary. Some of you may say, so what? This camera isn't very special. My Nikon or Canon camera from 10 years ago surpasses this in quality. And you could be right. Or the microphone. What's the big deal about the microphone? The microphone I use in my church or synagogue, much better than this microphone. But not when you compare this in the context of computing, connectivity, and the cloud. You see, when you take that camera and you connect it to the cloud, it becomes an eye. That microphone connected to a cloud becomes an ear. And in fact, what we're going to show you this morning is innovations that are the combination of those three trends and mobile phones that allow you for the first time to do powerful new things, including search by site, search by location, and search by voice. Let's begin with search by voice. Now, some of you may remember that it was about a year ago that we introduced Google Voice Search, available for the iPhone in the Google mobile app. And during 2009, we worked very, very hard to improve the accuracy and the recognition rates of that voice recognition. You might be surprised at how good it's gotten. Let me show you. This is Google mobile app, and it's running this voice recognition software, Google Search by Voice. You simply bring it to your ear and speak a query. So let me try a query. Something like, pictures of Barack Obama with the French president at the G8 summit. You know, unlikely that you would ever type in a query that long. And there you have it. Isn't that amazing? Now, as impressive as that query is, it becomes even more impressive when you think about what just happened. What happened was we took your voice file, the digital representation of your expression, sent it up to the Google Cloud, where it was broken down into phrases, sentences, words, and those were compared against the billions of daily Google queries we get. A probability score was associated with all the potential textual representations, the textual expressions of what we thought you said. They were ranked, and then the best ones were sent back to your phone, all within what you saw here in fractions of a second. Really amazing, amazing work. Now, we've done more than just work on the improvement on accuracy of voice search. We've also been adding languages. You heard Marissa talk about our focus on languages. Last month, we announced Mandarin voice search. Now, think about our customers in China, our users in China who have struggled to enter in with the notoriously difficult Mandarin character set on their mobile phones, now being able to use just voice. Let me do a demo for you. Same app, Google mobile app, available from the App Store, except in this case, I'm going to show you the Mandarin version of this particular app. OK, there you go. So you see that it's in Mandarin. And I'll try my only Mandarin query that I'm capable of doing. Mai Dang Lao, Beijing. That was McDonald's in Beijing. Let's see if we get it. There we go. All the McDonald's in Beijing. OK, now I'm very happy to announce that today, in joining English and Mandarin, we have a new language we'll be supporting, and that is Japanese. Now, instead of me trying to say McDonald's in Japanese, we thought we'd have a native Japanese speaker, Toshi. Toshi, please come up on stage and do a real demonstration for you. So Toshi, thank you very much. So you're going to do a query. What kind of query are you going to do?
So my first query, I'm going to search for the pictures of Kyoto's Kiyomitsu Temple.
OK, let's see you do this query.
Sure. Okay, here's the screen. Kyoto の清水寺の写真.
Fantastic. OK, so that was a great query. But why don't you try a query, a longer query, a query that you probably wouldn't type?
Okay.
And why don't you tell us what it is before you do it?
I'm going to try voice search for my favorite restaurant around the Google's Tokyo office.
OK, your favorite restaurant by the Google office in Tokyo. OK.
Yeah. So I'm going to search for the by address. 東京都渋谷区桜ヶ丘町26-1おいしいお好み焼きの店.
Oh, wow. Fantastic. Thank you. Thank you, Toshi. You can see why when I practiced trying to learn that, I gave up. So thank you, Toshi. You know, as I mentioned at the beginning, we really do get the sense that we are just now beginning to sense the possibilities. In fact, our dreams at Google go way beyond what you just saw. As Marissa mentioned earlier, in addition to voice recognition, Google also has massive investments in translation from one language to another. In fact, we have huge compute infrastructure for translation. Imagine the following scenario. Imagine that you could speak to your phone in one language, that Google could recognize what you said, take the text of what you said, feed it to our translation infrastructure, translate it to a different language, and have it then come back to the device using the text-to-speech engine on the device and have it play back in a different language. In other words, be almost a real-time interpreter. Would that be great? Let me show you a demo. What we're about to show you is a technological demonstration of a capability that we hope to deliver in 2010. There is the technological preview, let me try something. Hi, my name is Vic. Can you show me where the nearest hospital is? English, up to the cloud, translated back into Spanish.
Hola, mi nombre es Vic. Me fueron al hospital cercano.
Okay, you know what? Look, I apologize, Randy. I didn't have this thing plugged in. Let me try this again, okay? Hi, can you show me where the nearest hospital is? English, up to the cloud, back to Spanish, back down to the device.
Senderismo mostrar dónde está el hospital más cercano.
Okay. Now, that's just an early indication. You can imagine us working to get latency down even faster. We also demonstrated English, Mandarin, Japanese. In 2010, you will see us dramatically accelerate our efforts and support many, many more languages. Our goal at Google is nothing less than being able to support all the major languages of the world. Okay? So that's search by voice. Let's talk about location. You know, we were reviewing some market research from Japan, and we found the research quite surprising. What the research showed was that in Japan, consumers were holding on to their cell phones 24 hours a day and keeping them as close as 1 meter away. And we thought, wow, those Japanese, they must really love their cell phones to have that cell phone with them all the time. Until I went home, fell asleep, rolled over on my bed, looked at my nightstand, and right on my nightstand was my phone. In fact, we're not that different than the Japanese. You know, I suspect if you look around now, either you have the phone in your hand, it's in your purse, it's in your bag. You know, the phone, because its location is likely your location, has become the most intimate and the most personal of all personal computers. At Google, in our engineering teams, we want to make location a first-class component of all the products we build. Why? Well, it speaks to the personalization point that Marissa talked about earlier. In addition to personalizing the results we bring back to you, we can also just deliver them faster. For example, we included my location in Google Mobile Maps. Maybe some of you use Google Mobile Maps. Our data shows that on average, we save about 9 seconds per user, because when you open up Google Mobile Maps, we know your location and render that location immediately. But we want to do so much more than that. In fact, let me show you some of the things that we're doing to use location in our other properties. How many of you use Google Suggest? Okay, lots of hands go up. Our data shows that over 40% of mobile queries that come into Google are queries that result from a user selecting a suggest item. Now, how could that be improved if we use location? Let me show you. I have 2 separate iPhones here that I'm going to do this demonstration on. Let me just get them started up. And in both cases, I'm going to show you a future version of the google.com homepage that supports this suggest. Okay, so that's 1, and that's 2. Let me just make sure you can both see them. Now, we've done something here. We've hard-coded this phone to believe, as you can see, that it's in Boston. And we've hard-coded this phone to believe it's in San Francisco. Okay? So let's start doing a query. How about RE? What would you expect? Well, there comes the suggest options. Red Sox schedule, which makes total sense in Boston. Let's do exactly that same query in San Francisco, and what do you think will show up? REI, one of the most popular retailers in San Francisco. Isn't that great? Customize suggest based on location. Of course, there's other things we can do. For example, product search. This is the time people do lots and lots of shopping. But maybe you're like me. Maybe in addition to just shopping online, there are times that you wish you could actually know if that product happened to be available locally. Well, could we at Google combine your location with inventory feeds from retailers and tell you if that product was available locally? That's exactly what a future version of Google Product Search will do. Let me do a search here for a product. How about something like a Canon camera? How about a Canon EOS camera? I'll do a search here. We'll wait for those results to come back. Now, you'll know that the top 2 results have something very special. You see that blue dot? That blue dot says those 2 products are in stock nearby. And if you select In Stock Nearby, in combination with our partners who are sharing inventory data with us, you can see that Best Buy has this camera 1.3 miles away, and it's available at Sears, which is about 7 miles away. Isn't that great? All right, let's go back and talk about the Google.com homepage again. Have you ever asked yourself, what's nearby now? Maybe you get to an event a little early. You have a few minutes to spare. You're in a new place. And you go, I wonder what's nearby. That simple query is very hard to answer. Think about how you might solve it today. Maybe you'll go into your car. Maybe you'll use your car's navigation system and go through the rigid categories they provide. Maybe you'll type in an address onto a map. The query is so difficult because your location is the query. And what we're going to do is make location a first-class object right within the Google.com homepage. In fact, let me show you a brand new feature called Near Me Now on Google.com mobile. Right there, Near Me Now. And I simply select Near Me Now, and look at that. It knows I'm at the Computer History Museum and shows me other categories of areas or interests that I might have to go search for. But we can even do better than that. What we really want to do is take your location, send it up to the Google Cloud, have the Google Cloud reverse geocode your lat-long location, understand the business or place of interest that you're at, look around you for all other relevant places, rank them appropriately for their popularity, and then send those back down to your phone in a fraction of a second. That would tell me what's nearby. Well, watch what happens. I'm going to click that down arrow right by Explore right here. And boom, there you go. All the places right around the Computer History Museum. In this case, we've not only answered the question of what's nearby now, but we've also, if you look at the ratings, also answered the question of what's good nearby. Now, of course, we realize that you may do this search on more than just the Google.com homepage. And I'm very happy to announce that today we have a new version available today in the Android marketplace of Google Mobile Maps for Android. And among the many features that are in this new product is also this What's Nearby feature. You simply go wherever that you want to look at, any place on the map. It doesn't have to be any particular place. You just long press. So I'll just long press, select, and then say What's Nearby, and exactly that same feature is available today on Google Mobile Maps for Android. Now let me switch and talk about search by sight. Of the human senses, sight or vision is considered the most complex. It's estimated that up to 2/3 of our brain, of the human cortex, is involved in the processing of visual images. And it's widely believed by scientists that if we could figure out how the human brain processes images, that would be a monumental step forward in understanding and how the brain actually works. Well, I'm very happy to announce a new product available in Google Labs today, a product called Google Goggles, which represents our earliest efforts in the field of computer vision. Google Goggles allows you simply to take a picture of an item and use that picture of whatever you take as the query. Now, before I demonstrate the product, let me tell you a story on how I use the product. Obviously, we Googlers test products before we make them available, and I was doing my job testing the product. I had a friend, a couple, call me. They were scheduled to come over for dinner, but they called and said they were running late. They were stuck in traffic. In fact, they were stuck in traffic for 1 hour. So when the doorbell rang and I opened the door, both the husband and wife had to use the bathroom desperately. And as I opened the door, they said, "Sorry, Vic, we've been stuck in traffic. We need to go use the restroom." And I very happily pointed to where the restroom was, and the wife handed me the gift that they had brought, a bottle of wine. And she said, "While we're in the bathroom, open this bottle of wine." Well, I did what you would probably do. I pulled out Google Goggles and took a picture of the bottle of wine. Maybe you've ever wondered, is this bottle of wine any good? Oh, I got a result set back. It said that the wine had hints of apricot and hibiscus blossom. And just then, the door opened, and my friend came out of the restroom. Of course, she's not a Googler, so I took the confidential product we were testing, and I put it away. She said, "Please, please pour the wine." And so I poured the wine, and she said, "It's my favorite wine. What do you think of it?" And I tasted it, and I said, "It's got hints of apricot and hibiscus blossom." She was blown away and thought I had a great wine palate. I'll be honest with you, I don't even know what hibiscus blossom is. Let me show you a demonstration of that. I happen to have that bottle of wine, not that exact one, but the same bottle. Let's try it. Let's take a picture. Let's launch Google Goggles, and let's see what happens. Now, the lighting conditions here are less than optimal. I'm getting a huge amount of glare, so I don't know how this is going to work, but we will try. So let's see here. Let me take an image, a picture of this bottle, and then we'll bring it over here. Okay. Oh, well, helps if I actually get an image. So sorry, I moved it. Let's try that again. One more time, and I will try to hold my hand steady. Surprising, holding my hand steady wasn't a problem during rehearsal. Okay, and then you see it scanning, attempting to recognize what it sees here, and in this case, it's got some of the Riesling items. And of course, as you use it, and as we get more and more data, it'll become more and more accurate. Pretty exciting work. Now, you may think, well, Vic, I'm not going to take a picture of a wine bottle if that's all that Google Goggles does. Well, it does a lot more. It recognizes things like CD covers, movie posters, books, barcodes, lots and lots of categories. For example, imagine that you're traveling in Japan and you come across this landmark. Now, you don't speak Japanese, but you do know that's a famous landmark. How would you go about getting any information about that? Well, using Google Goggles, you could just take a picture of it and ask Google to help you. Let's try that. Let me come over here, and let me try to take a picture of that landmark. I'll pretend I was there. Okay, I got a picture. Let's come back over here and show you the results. It's analyzing, and there we go. How about that? It accurately recognized that landmark. Now, once again, it's incredibly impressive when you understand what's going on. In this case, those images are being streamed to the Google, or sent to the Google servers, the Google clouds. There, our vision algorithms are analyzing the image and looking for objects that it can detect. Those objects have signatures that are created, and then those signatures are matched up against an index that has over 1 billion images in it. The best matches are ranked and then sent back down to your device, all in the fraction of a second, showing you really the power of devices that are connected to the cloud. Now, some of you may ask, well, why is this in labs? Why is this product in Google Labs and available today? Well, we put it in labs for 2 reasons. One, because of the nascent nature of computer vision. We really are just at the beginning here, and the technology is just getting underway. The second reason is because of the scope of our ambitions. Google Goggles today works very well on certain types of objects in certain categories. But it is our goal to be able to visually identify any image over time. Today, you have to frame a picture and snap a photo. But in the future, you will simply be able to point to it. As simple as easy as pointing your finger at an object, and we'll be able to treat it like a mouse pointer for the real world. Of course, we're a long way from that today, but today marks the beginning of that visual search journey, and we strongly encourage those of you with Android phones to download that product, give us feedback, and help us really grow. So let me wrap up here. We really are at the beginning of the beginning. If you think about the mobile announcements that we talked about today, everything from Japanese voice search to a new version of Google Mobile Maps that allows you to search nearby, or the upcoming changes to the google.com homepage, or even something like Google Goggles, all of these are powerful demonstrations of what happens when you take a sensor-rich device and you connect it to the cloud. Yes, it could be that we are really at the cusp of an entire new computing era. An era where devices will help us explore the world around us, that devices can understand our own speech or help us understand others, devices that may even augment our own sense of sight by helping us see further. We hope you're as excited as we are about these mobile announcements. While it is just the beginning, the possibilities ahead inspire us. So thank you. Marissa, please.
That's okay. So you can see search engines that understand where you are in the world, search engines that understand you when you talk to them, even search engines with eyes. These are the things that are going to change the interface for search fundamentally as we move forward. The other thing that will fundamentally change the interface for search is media. And remember, media is what we refer to in terms of the richness of the web and the way that richness needs to be reflected on the results page. And it's not obvious, but media is really fundamentally a relevance problem. Can you find the right information? Can you rank it the right way? And if you look at the way media has evolved inside of Google search over the past 11 years, it's pretty interesting. We started with just websites, URLs, a list of 10 URLs that needed to be ranked. Then we evolved towards universal search, bringing books, news, video, local information, images, products, blogs, all onto the results page. But there, again, there's all kinds of interesting relevance questions. When should those genres appear at all? Where should they appear? Which one from those genres, which item from those genres should be surfaced on the results page? It's a huge relevance challenge. And then think about the web today. The web is hugely participatory. It's hugely fresh. I heard this morning that in Tahoe, people woke up to 2 feet of snow. And I've heard that some of you were caught in it on your way home. I'm jealous. But what's interesting is, was it 2 feet? Was it 1 foot? Was the snow blowing or not? And there's some official sources for that, but they don't always get it right. Yet there are user updates out there that do get it right. But how do you find them? And how do you cut through all of the updates that aren't relevant? That's why we have one of our foremost relevancy experts here in the company to talk about some of the challenges with media and relevancy. Please help me welcome Amit Singhal, Google Fellow.
Thank you very much, Marissa. So we are here at this wonderful Computer History Museum today. And before I get to the day's big announcement, it's just fitting that we take a moment and talk about the history of information flow. Now, I have worked in the field of search for almost 20 years now, and what we are going to announce today is one of the most exciting things I've seen in my career. But let me first take a moment and talk about how information has flown over centuries. So, thousands of years back, people got most of their information by word of mouth. Sitting around campfires, from their tribe, from their village, kids would walk up to the village elders who had all the knowledge and say, "Hey, grandpa, should I eat those beans?" And the grandpa would say, No, them are poisonous, okay? And the kids who listened eventually became grandpas and passed that knowledge along generations. And it took generations for knowledge to get from one point to another point geographically, and that was clearly not fast enough. Then Gutenberg invented the movable type printing press, and this process of information dissemination was parallelized. An author could write a book, thousands of books can be printed, and then they were sent on horsebacks and by boats to around the world. Village elders around the world now had the power of that knowledge. And believe it or not, up to some 20, 30 years back, that was the primary mode of information transfer. And even though great strides were made in the in the printing technology and transportation technology, the physical limits of printing technology and transportation technology still made it so that for information to get from an author to the consumers took weeks, months, and sometimes even years, and that was clearly not fast enough. And then came the internet, and what I'm showing you here is one of the early Google servers that's at display here at the museum. And now suddenly the world changed because billions and billions of documents were available to millions and millions of users just through the internet, through search engines. And that was a great revolution. In the early days of Google, when I got here 9 years back, we used to crawl that information every month. And we would put up a new index every month. People will call it Google Dance. And clearly, a month was not fast enough. And then the web evolved, and we started crawling every few days, then every day, and then every few hours to now, when we actually can crawl every few minutes. But clearly, in today's world, that's not fast enough. in today's world, the world is producing information from around the globe every second by tweeting, by posting other updates, by creating web pages, by writing blogs. You name it, information is being created at a pace I have never seen before. And in this information environment, seconds matter. Let me just use a metaphor to explain my point. The old metaphor of a library. Imagine a library with billions and billions of books. The librarian, just when the librarian understood the billions and billions of books in his library, the librarian realizes that there are 100 million new books coming in every day. Now the librarian finally figures out how to deal with 100 million new books arriving at his library every day so that he can tell the patrons what they should look for. And just when he mastered that process, the librarian realizes that there are 100 million people running around in his library, adding pages, deleting pages, writing notes, adding things to books. And guess what? If they didn't find a book on what they were looking for, they wrote a 140-character note and handed it to the librarian saying, "Not in your library." And that's the information environment today. And imagine in this library, a patron walks up to the librarian and says, "Hey, I need to learn about President Obama." And the librarian says, "You need that book, that article, that image, that speech, that video. And oh, by the way, 17 people just left me a note that President Obama has been talking to the Democrats in a special session on Sunday about healthcare. And by the way, he'll probably be in Oslo on Thursday receiving Nobel Prize," and so on and so forth. Now, imagine that librarian does all that in under half a second without breaking a sweat. As of today, that's what Google can do. We are here today to announce Google Real-Time Search. Google Real-Time Search is Google's relevance technology meeting the real-time web. Now, I can't emphasize this enough. Marissa said this right now. Relevance is the foundation of this product. It's relevance, relevance, relevance. There's so much information being generated out there that getting to you relevant information is the key to success of a product like this. And that's where we as Google come in, because for 11 years, that's what we have done. Rather than talking about this more, let me just show you. I have with me Dylan Casey, the product manager for this product. And Dylan, what's happening out there?
Well, as you mentioned, we weren't the only ones working yesterday. So one of the great things about this new product is we can actually see what people are talking about in regards to Obama right now.
So Dylan types Obama into Google. Google result page comes in, and wow, look at that. Results just came in real time. This page has come to life. Do you see that? This is results coming into Google's results page as they are produced on the real-time web out there, okay? Our users will get their results on the results page as they are produced in real time out there. This is the first time ever any search engine has integrated the real-time web into the results page. So let us show you a little more of this. Dylan, why don't we click on the latest result links out there? When Dylan clicks on the latest results link out there, he is taken to a full page of real-time results as they are produced on the web out there. Coming into this page, you see there's a tweet that just came in. Here's another real-time page that we crawled from answers.yahoo.com seconds ago. Another tweet that just came in seconds ago. and, "Hey, Matt, man, what are you tweeting out there?" Our good friend Matt Cutts just tweeted, and guess what? It just showed up in real time as he tweeted. This is the power of real-time search. Now, let me just take 3 examples to demonstrate what you have seen out here. So we have been testing this product internally with our Googlers. And as we have been testing this product, I have received good examples from my friends about how they are experiencing this product. One time, one Googler had heard that GM's car sales were finally stabilizing. So she typed GM into Google. And of course, our results were right there. The biggest news of the day was indeed that GM's car sales have stabilized. However, she noticed this latest results for GM section while she was searching and read that GM CEO Fritz Henderson had just stepped down seconds ago. Now, this was the information she needed right then, and this is the power of real-time search. Now, on the results page, as I said, this is the first time we are presenting real-time web on the results page. What you see in this real-time section is a scroll bar to the right, so that if a real-time result just scrolled past you, you can go back, go forward. In addition, what you see here is seconds ago, we had crawled an article from Business Insider, and that was presented to the Googler. And there was also an update from Twitter.com, a tweet from Twitter.com talking about Mr. Henderson's stepping down. Now, what you observe here is this is the whole real-time web. This is comprehensive real-time web with tweets, with news articles, with blogs, and so on and so forth. Let me take another example. One of the Googlers was searching for Bank of America. And of course, our results were very relevant. But the key part there was that the real-time web was buzzing about how Bank of America had decided to repay its TARP loan. And all those results started showing up in this latest results section that I have been talking about. But if you click on the latest result for Bank of America, as Dylan did for the query Obama to take you to the second page, you are taken to this full page of real-time results. And what you notice here is this special new link that we are launching today under our search options. We are very happy to launch this new search option called the latest results, which are available to you by clicking through with the latest result section or opening the search options on the top left of the result page and then clicking at this new feature. And once you click on this new feature, you are given information from the real-time web, the comprehensive real-time web, from Twitter, from Wall Street Journal, from a website, theloop21.com, and so on and so forth, comprehensive real-time web results coming to Google's results page in real time. Now let me take a third important example. One of the Googlers was visiting home over Thanksgiving break in Maryland and wanted to get a H1N1 vaccine and had heard that his old high school was administering H1N1 vaccine. So he typed H1N1 vaccine Arundel, the high school's name, and was taken to the result page, which were very relevant results saying free vaccine to be distributed at schools. So very fresh results around Thanksgiving telling the Googler that vaccines will be free available at this high school. But the Googler already knew that. He wanted to know how long the lines were, what else is happening. So the Googler clicked on this show options link that I just talked about. And having clicked on that, got the new options panel. And on this options panel, we are very happy to announce today that we are adding a new updates link. And by clicking on this updates link, you will get all the tweets and other updates coming into Google's system in real time. In this particular case, when the Googler clicked at this updates link, the Googler got one very, very relevant tweet saying that the high school had run out of vaccines. We saved him a trip, and he was thoroughly impressed. Now, for such hyper-local queries where maybe one person is tweeting on their cell phone or very few people are saying something, real-time search becomes incredibly powerful because it shows you exactly what you need in your geography when you need it. This was one single tweet, and it became available to that Googler right on Google's page. So why don't I show you this page live? Hey, Dylan, what's happening out there, man?
Well, actually, I hate to admit I've been up here kind of surfing around while you were talking, but I don't know about you, but I'm really excited about Google Goggles, and I've been watching what people are saying about it. It's so cool. So I just put the query in, and I hit search, and there's people talking about it right now. In fact,
Wow,
they've already
look
given
at
away
that.
Vic's trick.
Vic, dude, when did you announce it? How many minutes back? And here we are on Google's result page, real-time web, brought to our users for something you heard from Vic right now. Now, that's incredibly exciting, and as you can see, we can go into all the full real-time page, and you can see the entire real-time web for Google Goggles being brought to our users right at Google's result page, and the page that we have been talking about after that. Hey, Dylan, man, what are you doing? We are in the middle of the most important launch of the year, and you're playing with your cell phone, man? Grow up.
Sorry.
What's happening?
Sorry, Amit, a little guilty pleasure. I've been kind of following the Tiger story, and it turns out this also works on mobile. I'm getting updates.
What?
right now.
It does? Then why don't you
I know.
share it with all of us?
Okay, forgive me, but you can see right here.
Wow, look at that. This is Google's real-time search on mobile phones. So we are very happy to announce today that Google's real-time search is available on iPhone and Android, and anywhere you are. You need your information now. Just pull out your smartphone, type a query into google.com, and you will get the real-time web in your palm right away. And that's the power of mobile real-time search. At this point, I am also happy to announce that our Google Trends page is coming out of labs. It's leaving labs, it's graduating from labs. We are very happy. And we have added to it this new hot topics section that Dylan is showing you right now. On the hot topics section, you will see what the real-time web is generating right now, what information is coming into from the real-time web into Google's systems. And by clicking on one of those queries, you will, of course, see Google's real-time search results.
Well,
in addition, we have added a window down there where you can type your query and see real-time search results. Now, before we go there, let me just say one thing. We are rolling the Google real-time search product over the next couple of days. And over the next couple of days, some users may not have access to this product as we roll the binary out. However, you can always go to this new google.com/trends page, and by clicking on one of the hot topics, you will get to see Google's real-time results, or you can type your own query into more hot topics. So Bernanke's speech is what's happening?
Yeah, well, while you were giving your speech, Bernanke just presented a huge, gigantic speech, and the stock market went off.
Wow. It happened right now?
Yeah.
Man, I should call my broker. What's happening to my money now? Anyone knows? Well, my broker's not here. So what you observe here is this new google.com/trends page, which will take you to our new feature right away. OK, so we are all technologists here. I have been working in the field of search for almost 20 years. We all love technology. You love technology. And I would be cheating you if I didn't tell you what went into building a product like this. Let me just tell you, we literally had to develop dozens of new technologies to make Google real-time search as relevant as it is. Technologies like language models. We had to model whether a certain tweet was genuine information-carrying tweet, or was it just a weather buoy sitting out there tweeting automatic tweets. We had to develop query fluctuation models. If queries fluctuate, the volume fluctuates at a certain rate, then something becomes eligible for you to see on your results page. We had to develop the real-time content generation fluctuation model. If there's suddenly a lot of content about Bernanke's speech or the stock market, something just happened. Now, these are some of the most exciting technologies that we have developed to build a product like this. Today, we are processing over 1 billion documents a day generated by the real-time web out there, and within seconds, we have analyzed the documents and tweets and updates, and we have understood the documents and tweets and updates, and within seconds, we have seen a user query which we may have never seen before. We haven't seen 1/3 of the queries that we will see today ever before. So you take documents that you've never seen before, you take queries that you have never seen before, and you merge them together and filter for relevance and bring it to the users within seconds. And that's what real-time search is all about. Now at Google, we talk about the 4 pillars of search: comprehensiveness, relevance, user experience, and speed. And let me tell you one thing. I've worked in this field for a long time. I've worked at Google for 9 years. And as the information world has exploded, as the amount of information available out there has exploded, we are getting hundreds of millions of new items every hour. The importance of relevance has gone through the roof. Everything is important. Comprehensiveness is important. User experience is important. Speed is important. Indeed, relevance is important. But as the amount of information out there has grown as much as it has, and it's growing at the pace at which it is growing, relevance has become the critical factor in building products like this. Now, let me just recap of what we just talked about. So today, we are very proud to announce real-time search, a new latest search option in the Google search options, a new updates search option in the Google search options, a mobile version of our real-time search, and the new trends page leaving labs with a new hot topics section that would give you real-time results. And I'm incredibly proud of what we have built. As I study this, information is now getting to you instead of in generations, instead of in years, instead of in months, instead of in days, instead of in hours, in minutes. It's getting to you within seconds. And I'm incredibly proud of what we have built. But at Google, we are never satisfied. It takes about 1/10 of a second for light to go around the world. And at Google, we will not be satisfied until that is the only barrier between you and your information. Thank you. Let me hand it back to Marissa. Thank you, Dylan.
Thanks. So the first time that updates have been integrated into the search results, and that we have actually the most comprehensive set of updates, too. We're so excited about this product. But that said, we didn't want to rest on those laurels. We actually have 2 new exciting partner announcements. The first of those announcements is with Facebook. Facebook will be providing us with a feed of updates from their public profile pages, also known as Facebook pages. And these will be appearing in Google's real-time search. The second new partner we have to announce today is MySpace. MySpace will be providing us with a feed of updates from all of their users on any update that's public. And these updates will also be appearing in Google's real-time search. We have support from our partners here today. I want to thank Biz Stone and the team from Twitter for being here today, and also Jason Hirschhorn from MySpace, the Chief Product Officer from MySpace and his team. Thank you very much for coming and supporting the launch today. In conclusion, last year on our 10th anniversary, we published a blog on the future of search. And it laid out the vision for modes and media and language and personalization. And I think when you look at today's announcement, search engines that have eyes, search engines that can understand you when you talk, search engines that know where you are, and search engines that know what is happening anywhere in the world and can bring it to you in real time. It's amazing to see how far we've come on realizing that vision in just one short year. And with that, I'd like to welcome Amit and Vic back to the stage, and we'll take some questions. Thanks.
And we're also going to take some questions here in a second from online as well while we set up. And if folks have questions here, feel free to step up. We have microphones just right here. But we're going to start with an online question first that's coming from The Guardian in the UK. This is for you, Vic. We get to put you on the hot seat first. It says, given Google's acquisition of Nevin, to what extent can goggles recognize faces?
It's a great question. Hartmut Nevin is in the room, I believe. Hartmut, are you here? There he is in the back. Hartmut Nevin had a company that we acquired, and he is the leader of this particular project internally at Google. His previous company did some pretty amazing work around around face recognition. And the technology that we've built with Google Goggles is very general. Of the billions of images in the index that we do recognize, faces is one of those objects. However, for this particular product, we made the deliberate product decision not to do facial recognition. At Google, we deeply respect users' privacy, and we still want to work through issues around user opt-in and control. And so while we have the underlying computer science technology to do facial recognition, we've decided to delay that until we have more safeguards in place.
That's great. And again, if folks have questions here, just go for it, put up your hand. And if you could just introduce yourself so that the people who are listening in online can know where the question's coming from.
Hi, this is Akito Tanaka from the Nikkei. I had a question regarding the real-time search. What is the advertisement opportunity in that area?
So right now, we are concentrating on bringing the most value to our users with all the wonderful partnerships that Marissa just announced and our partnership with Twitter. And I believe that this space is very, very young. As time goes on, new models would develop, and all the companies that we are talking about are experimenting with multiple models of how to generate revenue from all this wonderful real-time information that the world is producing. I think all the companies like Twitter and others have added tremendous value to the world because we can figure out what the ski conditions are in Tahoe right now, and I can figure out how the traffic is like in Bangalore right now, and you name it, right? There's so much information out there. And as long as the product brings value to users, I think new models of advertising and various other revenue streams emerge, and you will see a revolution in that space over the next few years.
Is this on? Yeah, Richard Waters from the Financial Times. Can you tell us more about, in real-time search, how many sources you're crawling, how often you're crawling? Are you taking feeds from Twitter and Facebook and other places? And longer term, how much real-time information are you going to be able to draw in?
That's a great question. So we are crawling a lot of content. As I said, right, about 1 billion pages a day. We are crawling every day. We are crawling from many, many sources. We are going out to the web, and we are crawling all those sources, all the good sources out there. Definitely all the news sources, but not just the news sources. If a company announces a new product and does a press release, yes, we will get it. If a blogger writes a blog about something, yes, we will get it. And we will do that within seconds. So we are casting a very wide net. The key here is comprehensiveness of real-time information and integration with Google's search results. Those are the two keys. Those are the two key design principles behind this product. And indeed, we are taking feeds from our partners' Twitter and going forward very soon from MySpace and Facebook. And we would like to get as much information as there is out there via feeds or any other mechanism, because our objective is to build the most comprehensive real-time search out there.
And I should also add that on our latest mode, we actually do have other update providers, including FriendFeed, Jaiku, Identica, and TwitArmy. And as Amit said, we'll be working to bring Facebook and MySpace into that functionality over the next few weeks.
While we wait for other questions from here. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Hi, Helen Laube with the Financial Times Germany. What about availability of real-time search on your non-US sites?
That's another great question. So we at Google strongly believe in all our products becoming international rapidly. This first launch is available in all English-speaking locales. That would be the UK, Canada, India, Australia, New Zealand, and so on and so forth. And very soon, sometime in Q1, we are planning on launching many new languages. So this is one of our top priorities in this project. Our first priority was launching it, stabilizing it, making our infrastructure and relevance work, because that, as you can imagine, has been a hard challenge. And as I showed you, with all the new technologies that we have had to develop, that was our first focus, building a product that would bring value to the users. And going forward, very soon, we are going to rapidly internationalize this product.
So we're going to take one more online question here. This is another one for you, Amit, about relevance. How you prevent spammers from taking advantage of the real-time search results? This is from Stephen Bivens.
This is something that I know something about, having run Google search for about 9 years. We have the best systems in place to prevent gaming of the system. Okay, our spam lead out here is sitting with us, Matt Cutts, and Matt runs the best spam prevention team that there is out there. And we have had experience with this for so long. We have developed algorithms inside that can see what's going to happen next and counteract almost before it happens. Matt's team has developed some of those algorithms. And real-time is moving, for us, real-time is moving from minutes to seconds. And we are already in the game of running a system that's minutes fresh. And we do a great job. You find Google results very useful that we crawled a few minutes back. And Matt and his team and the rest of the team at Google are experts in this area. We know many things about it. And that's how our real-time product is already so relevant.
Dave McClure, just a quick question on the customization. Are you going to be able to integrate social networking accounts so I can customize the prioritization of real-time search results by the people who I care about? So in other words, using Facebook Connect or LinkedIn or Twitter OAuth to sort of prioritize or even let me selectively choose like the real-time results that I want to deal with.
You are just picking questions out of my mind. That's so wonderful. We are very excited about what's happening. And the key thing that we are excited about is we are just getting started. You mix with this real-time search all the key principles that Marissa talked about and Vic talked about. Localization, personalization, and now you have a real-time product that everyone would like to use. In addition, recently you have noticed we have been experimenting with social search in our labs. Marissa launched social search a few weeks back. And that is an angle of personalization where you see results from your social circle alongside the most relevant results from Google. Now you can just imagine when you merge these multiple technologies that we have developed here, from real-time search to social search to location-based search, what you will get is a product that you would love, and that's coming very soon to a Google near you.
See Glenn up here in the front.
Just really curious, Marissa, could you further expand on the distinction between Facebook's going to give you the public feeds, which is the stuff that members are already designated is okay to be seen by anyone, and then MySpace is giving you all the feeds? I mean, you sort of so that's anything that a MySpace member will get, please.
So Facebook has a product called Facebook Pages, which are special public profiles for specific entities. Their feed that they're providing us will have the updates that come from those pages. For MySpace, it covers all of their users' profile pages and any update that's designated as public. So if I were a user on MySpace and I said that my updates could be public, those will all be coming to us in the feed. That's right. So that users can decide what they'd like to see offered by this feed to Google and in search, and how broadly they want to share it on the social network in general by using the privacy controls available on each of those networks.
Harry McCracken with Technologizer. You talked about how you have these partnerships with a bunch of major sources of real-time content. Do you need those relationships and those feeds to do this, or what would happen if there was something that people were excited about that you did not have a relationship with?
I think that overall our goal is always comprehensiveness, right? Our mission is the world's information, making it universally accessible and useful, and we really do mean the world's information. As Amit can attest to, you get better results when you have more items to choose from, when you can analyze them, understand how they relate to each other. So the more comprehensive we can be, the better we can serve our users, and that's why we've had such a focus on making our real-time result that we're launching today already the most comprehensive available, and we're taking that even further with the MySpace and Facebook partnerships. In the future, if there was something else, obviously we'd want to partner with and include those sources as well.
We got a question from Danny up in the front here.
Can you go back and clarify with Twitter what financial deals are there, if there are any, and then the same for Facebook and MySpace? Are there ad deals? Are you paying for this stuff, or is it just the goodness of their hearts, or what?
We cannot disclose the financial details of any of the deals. I can't. I'm sorry.
If we go back to MySpace, we've got Murdoch saying that he wants you guys to pay him to carry his news results, right? But then with MySpace, either they've just decided to give you this stuff because they think it makes sense, and that's his company, and apparently that information is free for them to hand out, or you're actually paying for it. So it seems reasonable to ask whether or not somebody's getting something out of this financially. Even if you can't do the details, it's either they're doing it for free or they're not doing it for free. Can't you give us that?
Yeah, I'm sorry, we can't confirm.
We don't exclude any source. Any source of real-time information we would really like to have integrated with our system. And we let our algorithms for relevancy decide what updates or tweets or blogs or news or web pages to surface to the user. So at Google, we are all about comprehensiveness, and we will accept all sources of real-time information, and we'll build the most comprehensive real-time search.
But are you applying the same relevancy algorithms? You write the algorithms, so you know what they can do. Are you applying the same algorithms you apply to normal web search, just on a faster footing, or how have you had to change it?
So as I was talking about earlier, we have had to develop at least a dozen new technologies to make real-time search work as well as it does. Because clearly in real-time search, you need to have models of information fluctuation. As information fluctuates out there in the real-time world, or as information fluctuates in our query stream, you have to react to that. And clearly, those fluctuations are useful for traditional web search, but for real-time search, they are just incredibly critical. So I wouldn't say it's exactly the same algorithm that we can use, because to work with this amount and this pace of information generation, you have to develop these new technologies. And what we have developed, some of these are just amazing technologies, right? I've worked in this field so many years, and I didn't think we would develop these technologies so fast at the rate that we did. So I'm incredibly proud of how much relevance we have brought to the product based on the technologies we have developed using our experience with relevance.
So we're going to take one more question from online for Vic. The question comes from Luke Wilson. With more, I don't know if it's the Luke Wilson, but from a Luke Wilson. With more Android phones and possibly even Google Android hardware, does Google intend to reduce support for non-Android devices?
Absolutely not. Our desire is to reach our customers on whatever platform they're on. And today, there are a variety of smartphone platforms like the iPhone, and Apple's a strong partner of ours, like BlackBerry, Nokia. At times, we choose different priorities in terms of which one we do first. But it is our goal to reach as many as possible based on the technical capabilities of that underlying platform.
Hi. Can you hear me? Okay. Yep. Sylvie Barak from Hexus. I wanted to know, first of all, do you feel that your real-time search will be the death of journalism? And second of all, everyone knows that knowledge is power. Does that make Google the most powerful company in the world?
So let me answer it to the best of my ability. Your questions are clearly very loaded. So journalism has its role, and it always will have that role. Information is indeed power, and what you in this room are doing are empowering the world as we speak with information about what's happening here right now. So I can't even think about how putting those two words together, death of journalism based on real-time search, because you bring so much value to the world that this value has to be brought to the world. And regarding your second question, our goal at Google has always been to bring timely information to our users. And clearly, we are empowering our users with the information that they need now. We have been in this business for 11 years. We get the information, we do our special relevance work, and we bring it to our users. So I think it's all about user empowerment. I personally have felt empowered many times when I had the knowledge in my hand through Google and I walked into situations that I had to. So it's all about user empowerment, and real-time search is the next step in that direction.
Yeah, I would just add that our purpose is really around facilitation and reference, getting people to do their search and getting them off of our site and onto where the information exists in its native form as quickly as possible. And so from that, I guess I have to take a little bit of exception with the question of we have the information. We don't. The web has the information, and we want to get the users back out to the web as efficiently as possible.
It's probably worth noting, too, that Google sends billions of clicks each month to news publishers, and this will be yet another channel through which to send those clicks. Yeah.
Hi, Michael Heller. I'm with the Google Technology User Group. My question is around the integration of real-time results with the rest of Google results. I saw the latest within the web page, and I'm just wondering what your vision is for long-term from a user perspective. How much does the user thinking about is something real-time result versus some other kind of result, and where are you trying to go in terms of that direction?
So there's another great question. The power of our universal search is that users don't have to think about whether they should be searching here or there. They should be searching in Google search box, and all information that is relevant to them at that moment should surface on the search results. We have made great strides in universal search with integrating books, video, images, news, blogs, and so on and so forth into Google search. We don't think of it as this search or that search. We think of it as Google search. Whatever needs to be seen by the user now should be integrated on the Google's results page. And Google real-time search is just the newest feature of Google Universal Search, because this is a genre that's very relevant in today's web, and we have just brought it right to our users with our integration with Google search results.
Yeah, I would just add one example there, which I think drives home how much of a relevance problem this really is. So, for example, think about when you're searching for a product. So apparently a few weeks ago, there was a massive stroller recall. And what was nice is when we were actually dog fooding this, which is what we call using it internally, when we were dog fooding real-time search, if you did a search for that stroller, not only did you get places where you could go and buy it, but you also were alerted to the fact that there had been a recall, which I would argue for users, that is a very important piece of information. If you're about to go and make that purchase, you want to know that there's been a major news issue with this, or potentially a major safety issue with it. And I think that that shows the power of the real-time search. And in that case, that tweet, that news article is incredibly relevant, and that's why we surface it on the same page as our search results.
Marissa, you just mentioned that it's still Google's idea to get users as fast as they can to other pages on the web. We're seeing some changes, though, from Microsoft and Yahoo that seem to think that creating pages from information around the web is a better way to go and gives people answers. You also mentioned answers. Can you give a sense of where Google sort of lands on that kind of creating user interface, or sort of still having algorithm being the king?
I think that our view is that we overall believe that the web thrives on openness. And so the reason that we have this amazingly rich set of data to search and provide in our search results is because the web is open and there's a huge amount of participation. To say, oh, we'll develop the most authoritative page on this, I think is problematic, because it does make it a much more closed system, and we want to be much more inclusive. That said, certainly as we evolve search, there comes a point when you do want to be referring to things potentially more as entities. Here's a restaurant, what can you tell me about it, right? And we do that by offering heterogeneous search results, which really allow you to see not only the canonical page for that restaurant, but also reviews, et cetera. I think we'll play with the user interface of that, but again, the point is still that the best information and the richest information is out there on the web. We want to get people there faster, but we don't want to hold them on what we would call the most authoritative page or host that page.
Yeah, this is Stephen Shanklin from CNET News. I appreciate your focus on relevance and recency, but in my observation, a lot of times those things they don't necessarily go together. Do you have any way of putting truth into the equation? There's a lot of time where a lot of situations where time goes by and the truth sifts out. So is there a way that you can actually assure people that they're not getting connected to rumors and things that are potentially factually wrong very quickly?
Now, this is a very good question and a very, very tough scientific problem that the research community is also thinking about, and we are also thinking about. And right now, a straightforward answer to your question is we emphasize quality and relevance, and that often brings the truth out. I say often because there may be occasional chances when the truth is somewhat gray and not black and white, in which case it can be debated. But it's a very hard problem because language understanding is still an unsolved problem. We have made great strides in language understanding at Google. However, it's still an unsolved problem. We are very excited about the algorithms we are developing to understand language. But what you're talking about is, in some sense, the grand challenge for language understanding. So we are excited about the strides we have made, but that's our ultimate objective years down the road to get to that point. And that's why, after having worked in the field for 20 years, I come into work every morning like a kid going to candy store, because I get to work on all these things.
Hi, Patrick Moore.
Hi.
I'm speaking. This is Gary. I'm with Silkwise.
Actually, we are hosting some real-time information on our website. So is there any way that we can submit the channels to the Google real-time search, as a resource?
Sure. Please talk to Dylan, who's sitting here after the event.
Yeah.
And
That's
Dylan
also a general question for a lot of real-time hosting websites, right?
I think it makes sense at some point to have a standard API and a standard feed that we accept, and I think we'll be moving in that direction as we evolve the product.
Okay, thanks.
Patrick Moore. One of the questions that I've noticed come up on Twitter that I think should be repeated is a lot of energy and effort is spent on PageRank. What does this do in the real-time search? It seems like, you've got a real issue here. How are people going to deal with this? How does PageRank impact the real-time search results?
So PageRank is a very important piece of our ranking relevance technology that we use for our entire web search. And PageRank is indeed one of the hundreds of factors that we use in our ranking system. And for real-time search, we have all those hundreds of factors. Some may not be as powerful in the context of real-time search. Some may be more powerful. In addition to PageRank and those numerous other signals, we have had to add these new technologies that I talked about, like language modeling, right? How do you model language that it actually is finding good, relevant information? And so PageRank is always a very important piece of our technology, including real-time search. We have just had to develop many new things to make real-time search as relevant as it is.
And I would add that PageRank is really about finding authoritative pages. One of the more fascinating things that we've seen, or we're beginning to see inside of some of the real-time data, is that authoritativeness exists there as well, and there's signals that indicate it. So for example, retweets and replies and the structure of how the people in that ecosystem relate to each other. You can actually use some of our learnings from PageRank in order to develop an updates rank or an updater rank for the specific people who are posting. So this is something we're beginning to experiment with, but it's interesting to see that same parallel where PageRank looks at links. You can actually look at the very mechanisms inside of these update streams and start to sense authoritativeness the same way.
We're going to take one more online question from Eric Wester from WikiHow, who's asking if there's an option to disable the scrolling feature. He says he realized there's a pause, but what about disabling it altogether?
So we really have experimented tremendously with this user interface for real-time search. And based on early positive and good feedback like this, we did introduce the pause button. And after a lot of experimentation, I think the current interface is serving its purpose of conveying to you the real-time nature of your query and providing the real-time results. And we are always experimenting with everything that we do, including user experience, not just for real-time search, but for everything else. And we would be working on the user experience for our entire search system going forward. Clearly, real-time search is the new feature we are very excited about, and we would do a lot more work in the user experience direction of real-time search going forward.
And I think we also have to acknowledge that it's very early in the evolution of the feature, and we don't know that this is exactly the right user interface. It may ultimately change. And we also want to always honor our users' preferences. So if they've expressed a preference to us, we don't want to later say, well, hey, here's a whole new way the user interface could work, and how would we interpret that option there? A few years ago, when we first put PDFs into our search result, we had the PDFs somewhat imbalanced, and they were showing up too frequently. And lots of users mailed in and said, can I just turn off having PDFs in the search results? And we basically said, actually, bear with us. The relevance of PDFs will get much better. And sure enough, it did. And we didn't want to have this sort of mechanism where you would turn it off, and then we'd have to reintroduce it later once it was better. We actually think that the real-time search relevance is already very good, but that said, we can anticipate changes to the search results, so a pause was the right compromise.
Niall Kennedy. I'm wondering about time to locate on the GeoSearch. Can you talk about your coverage for non-orbital sources of geolocation data worldwide? So you're scanning MAC addresses and looking at cell towers right now. And have you done any work looking at how Galileo could possibly change how you do search internationally?
When you say geolocate, you mean a feature like My Location?
Correct.
Okay. So our time to locate varies depending upon the source of the geodata. So on a cell phone, if it's GPS data, some cell phones, depending on make and model, can sometimes take a very long time, up to 20 minutes, to get their initial GPS fix. In those cases, we fall back to using cell tower, and if the phone has an AGPS chip, AGPS gives us assisted GPS. That assist comes from using the unique identifier of a cell tower, and we're able, because of our very large database, to almost instantaneously give you a reasonably accurate fix until we can get the true lat long once the GPS kicks in. So that gives you that very, very fast experience in Google Mobile Maps.
And do you feel like you've good coverage internationally for those type of location sources other than GPS?
The coverage has grown by an order of magnitude this year. And obviously, the more and more phones that carry Google Mobile Maps increases our coverage. So we're very happy most places internationally. There are a few very rural areas that we continue to drive for better coverage in. But the rate of growth is very encouraging that we'll have broad coverage.
Will Google real-time search API get supported in the Google Search API in the future? I would rather like to see that in a long tail adaptation.
That's a great idea. We haven't yet looked into the details of that, and I assure you we will be looking at the details of that going forward.
Got one more question online, which is just, when is all this stuff going to be live, both on the mobile front and on the web front?
So I'll take the mobile front stuff. Live today is Japanese voice search. Brand new in the Android marketplace is Google Mobile Maps version 3.3, or if it isn't live now, it'll be live in the next few hours. And also Google Goggles, as you saw from the tweets, is already available in the Android marketplace. Some of the new innovations that you saw on the Google homepage, like Near Me Now, those are in the coming weeks ahead. We can't exactly predict those dates because of some of the holidays, but it's in the very imminently near future. Things like product search are probably a few more weeks beyond that. But that gives you a timeline for everything we discussed, except one thing, that fascinating demo I showed where the device was able to translate from English to Spanish. That was a technology concept demo. You'll see the first products from Google that start to include that technology sometime in Q1.
So for real-time search, we are starting the rollout process today. By the end of the day, some percentage of Google users would start seeing real-time search, and in the coming days, we will complete that rollout as our systems roll out to the various data centers that we have. For now, if you want to access real-time search, please go to google.com/trends, and you can click on the new Hot Topics panel on the left, or type your query under that panel in the new search window we have added, and you will get Google's real-time results now. And we can check that. We'll make sure. No, I'm sure. Maybe some of the binary pushes needed. Okay, we'll check it right away.
Hi,
someone's checking it.
Bobby Johnson from The Guardian again. I wanted to ask Vic about the visual search. You said there are 1 billion images already in the computer vision database. I'm just wondering whether Google owns like the canonical encyclopedic entry of what that image is, or whether you determine what that is by a web search algorithm. Is this the Empire State Building determined by everyone on the web saying it's the Empire State Building, or you deciding that's what it is?
I could give you a very compelling answer, but I would be remiss, as the person sitting directly to your left is the engineering lead behind it. And so in this case, if you could hand over the microphone to Nevin, Hartmut will give you the answer.
Actually, one of the most interesting parts of our system is a technology called unsupervised learning. So essentially, the algorithms will go out and build models for visual recognition in a completely unsupervised manner based on photos we find. And then a model, let's say in your example for the Empire State Building, will emerge as a reflection of what's on the web.
My follow-up question then was, would it be possible to Google bomb visual search?
In principle, yes, but as Amit said, we have techniques to prevent things like this.
Okay. So I think we have time for just a couple more questions. One over here in the back, yeah.
So currently, Chris Messina, sorry. You're doing a lot with text-based status updates. I'm curious if you're looking to expand that to other types of activities that people are doing on the web that are being recorded through other types of social networking services and systems, again, just beyond status updates.
Yeah. Indeed, we are very excited about what the future holds. Today, we are starting our new real-time search with text-based status updates and the rest of the real-time web, and we are learning about how to do relevance in this world, and we've done a very good job of getting you relevant real-time results. As time progresses, we have image search technology, we have video search technology, and we will be accepting all those forms of real-time information. Some of the greatest information I've seen in real time is held in TwitPic, for example, right? The cable broke on the Bay Bridge or something like that. There's excellent information there, and indeed, we will be integrating that going forward.
I should also point out MySpace, one of our partners, is already looking at how they can take some of the non-textual updates and make them available to us.
Hi, I'm Van Riper. I'm actually one of the co-leaders of the Silicon Valley Google Technology User Group. But in my day job, I work for Crillion, which is in the product-based local search and real-time inventory lookup. So I was kind of curious if I should be looking for another job. Could you say a little bit more about the availability of the integration of product availability in your results that you mentioned early on before all this real-time stuff, which is very exciting? Did you get the question? You early on demoed something about being able to get real-time product availability, product inventory.
Yes.
And when you then answered the follow-up question about availability of stuff, you didn't even mention that. So I was just curious.
I'm sorry. That will be integrated into our product search sometime in Q1. The partners I demonstrated there were Sears and Best Buy, and obviously we're working with many other retail partners to get inventory data so that we can combine that with the user's location and deliver that experience.
Got it. Thanks.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. Let me just take a moment, and Dylan tells me that google.com/trend should be working now. Maybe we hit a minor glitch, so we will check that again, but please test it.
Ryan Single from Wired.com again. Could you give a sense of what relationship there is between the real-time search index and the Google Web Index, and whether one is feeding into the other or not?
Another great architectural question. Google Search Index over years has evolved to be updated every few minutes, even within a few seconds. And real-time search index is just a continuation of that technology that we have been building for many years now to do things like Google News search or even crawling the web very fast. The new thing that we have added into this is update receiving and indexing and merging with the index. And that has been a great new technology because at that end, we have built some of the technologies I showed you for modeling how information is flowing in the system.
So I think that's all the time we have for now. We'll stick around if you all have questions here, and thanks so much for coming.
Thank you.